Hey, Shalom, Kalalal, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai. This is Brother Gabar Ya'Allah. This is the voice of Jacob coming back at you with another video/lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai. And I just want to give all praises, all glory, all honor, due unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakah HaKodash. Also, double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of Great Millstone that I do learn this truth from. To you I say Shalom, and Shalom unto the hopeful elect. And I was just watching this video here called Arab Scholar Warns Blacks About America's Dishonesty and Moral Bankruptcy and Why They Should Depart. Firstly, this message is just going out to all blacks. That includes the American Negro as well. You tribes that come out of the Southern Kingdom, being Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. But we know through Scripture the way you're going to depart is by the way of Revelation 18:4. Come out of her, my people, which simply is going into how Yahushua is going to come back and deliver the nation of Israel by the way of ships, right? And we know that the elect will be scarcely saved, pursuing to Psalms, the 91st chapter. So that's how America is going to depart. And we're going to depart Egypt again, just like how we departed ancient Egypt. Hey, that's pursuing to Revelation 11 and 8. This is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt. So we're going to depart from Egypt once again, but that's going to come back by Yahushai. All right, pursuing to Wisdom of Solomon, I believe the 5th chapter, it goes into that. Wisdom of Solomon chapter 5, the strangest of our salvation. So yeah, man, so pretty good. Now he goes into psychopathy, Western psychopathy, and that starts with America, of course. America being the head of the Western world. And he talks about the characteristics and traits of psychopathy, and he's basically saying America is showing all those characteristics and traits. Basically, he's calling you Americans a bunch of psychos, starting with your leadership. And that really starts with the elites, then it trickles on down to Donald J. Trump, which he's the president of the United States. And funny thing, man, I ended up stumbling upon this video right here called Donald Trump Delivers Harsh Words at UN. This is from CTV News. This came up on my subscription feed. And he's pretty much blaming the UN, criticizing them for not, what's it called? He's criticizing them for not having strong policies, and he's criticizing them on multilateralism, immigration and borders, and stuff like that. Then he's criticizing allies who continue to buy Russian energy while fighting Russia. And he said he's going to consider imposing tariffs if Russia doesn't negotiate peace. But you don't see the remorse. You don't see this guy taking responsibility for his country's actions, for what he has done, because his country has been involved in all these wars. You can start with genocide. You can start, the war on Native Americans, slavery, going into Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, all these wars, man. And he justifies all those wicked things that his nation has done. But then he has the nerve to judge the UN and talk about them, Right? It's ridiculous, man. Right, and that's what the harsh words means. Harsh words just simply means forceful language. He's showing his frustration, blame, and demands for change. Right. That's what he's going into. He's pointing out their failures and weak policies in regards to the things that I said, but mainly migration and immigration. But he doesn't take any responsibility. Right, real psychopath, man. Very manipulative. Which this clip is pretty good. All links will be in the description. So who is this man right here? He goes by the name of Shahid King Bolson, which that's not his real name. He was born in the USA, by the way, and he's an Edomite. He was born in 1971 in Boulder, Colorado, USA, and his real name is Shannon Morris. And he converted to Islam in his early 20s, and that's when he took on the name Shahid, which just simply means martyr in Arabic. And then he ended up moving to the United Arab Emirates, I believe in the early 2000s. I think this was 2002 or 2003. So this guy is actually an Edomite. He's not even an Ishmaelite. He's not a real Arab. He's an Edomite. And this ties into the prophecy of Psalm 64 and 8, how their own tongue shall fall upon themselves. Hey, these Edomites are exposing themselves, man. Starting with these whistleblowers, these scholars and intellectuals coming out and bringing out the history of the so-called white man, bringing out the history of America and how sick and disgusting they are, you know. So this is Psalms chapter 64, verse 8. So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. That's right. And originally this is going into the secret council of wicked during King David's time. But this applies to what's going on today. There is a secret council in this world, and it starts with the elites and these different secret organizations and secret societies that you have out here. There is a secret government, and there's a government that is over Donald Trump. There's a secret government, a hidden government that is over America, and they're pulling all the strings and calling all the shots. But they all have one thing in common. They're a bunch of psychopaths, man. Hey, and that goes back to Esau, Edom, Cain, and the serpent, man. Bunch of psychos, man. If you look at the serpent, if you look at Cain, you look at Esau, Edom, they all display psychopathy, right? They all share those same traits and characteristics. First of all, the serpent was a liar, right? He was a pathological liar. He was very manipulative, and he showed no remorse. When you go into Genesis, the 3rd chapter, you go into Cain, how he murdered his brother, and then also he lied to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai about and he knew what he was doing. He knew he was wrong, right? He gave up the wrong sacrifice. He gave vegetables instead of an unblemished lamb, right? And then when he killed his brother, right, he pretended like it never happened. And then when he was confronted about it, he still lied. He still lied. So he's a psycho. And then you go into Esau, Edom. He wanted to kill his brother, man, because he lost his birthright. He made a vow after his father died. He's like, I'm going to kill my brother Jacob. And ever since, man, Esau has just been terrible. 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 Job 9:24, Revelation 20 and 7 on down. He deceived the nations into believing lies, man. He's a fucking liar. He's a psycho. This shows that, and also what this man is going into points that out as well. So I'm going to play the clip and then get some precepts. All right. So it's about 5 minutes long, and all links will be in the description. Here we go.
If you research and look up the traits and characteristics of psychopathy, you'll find that you can easily match all of those traits with the traits and characteristics of the United States, the way it behaves globally, and even the way it behaves domestically against their own people. You'll find that it very closely aligns with the definitions and the characteristics and the traits and the attributes of a psychopath. And one of the key traits of a psychopath is that they feel no guilt, they have no conscience, they feel no remorse. They feel completely entitled to take advantage, to prey upon, to behave in a predatory manner towards anyone who's weaker than them, who's more gullible than them, who's more naive than them, who's more trusting than them, who's more sincere than them, who's kinder, who's gentler, who's more compassionate. They feel completely entitled to take advantage of that type of person, use them and abuse them and exploit them, and they will feel nothing about it. They will feel no kind of way about it. No guilt, no remorse, no sense of shame. Now let me explain by way of example. On September 11th, 2001, 19 individuals committed a heinous terrorist attack on the United States. Since 9/11, Muslims around the world collectively have been held responsible for that and have felt genuinely guilty about that, have felt horrified by what happened, and have apologized for it have felt guilty about it and have tried time and time and time again to atone for the actions of these 19 individual men. And we've done the same thing every time there's any sort of terrorist attack by any individual criminal or set of criminals. Even when those attacks are primarily directed against us, we are the number one victims of terrorism by Muslim extremists. Not Westerners, not non-Muslims, not Americans, not Europeans. Muslims have died in far greater numbers, but we have gone out of our way to try to atone for the actions of those people, to disassociate ourselves from those actions, to apologize, to condemn. I mean, whenever there's a terrorist attack, Muslims around the world fall all over each other trying to get to a microphone to explain how much we condemn it, to explain how this is unrepresentative of Islam, how these people are not real Muslims, they're not true Muslims, they don't represent Islam. This is not what Islam believes in. This is not what Islam calls for. Islam does not advocate this, and Islam does not approve of this. Muslims fall over each other trying to get to microphones to explain that to the world. We do that to disassociate ourselves from the renegade actions of individual criminals who perform atrocities in the name of our religion. Now, contrast that with the endless list of crimes committed by the United States. And you can go back as far as you want, or as recently as you want. If you want to go as far as Nagasaki, Hiroshima.
All right, so I just want to stop it here for a second. You know, all those deaths of Muslims and the atrocities that they have went through, all the hardship that they're experiencing, and how they're also the face of terrorism today. Because when you think of like terrorism or the word terrorist, most people associate that with the Arab world, right? But that's for a reason. You know, that goes back to the prophecy of Genesis, the 16th chapter. Now I'm going to get it for you Ishmaelites, which are you Arabs, okay? Ishmael is the father of the Arabs. So this is Genesis chapter 16, verse 11. And the angel of Yahweh said unto her, Behold, thou art with child, and shall bear a son, and shall call his name Ishmael. Because, let's see what the word Ishmael means here. See, let's get the definition of the word Yishmael. God will hear. Okay, here we go. Son of Abraham and Sarah's handmaid, Hagar, and the progenitor of the Arabian peoples. You see? There you go. So he's the father. Okay, there you go. That's what it means. So now you got the proof. So let's read it. Let's continue on. I'll read it again. Genesis chapter 16, verse 11. And the angel of Yahweh said unto her, Behold, thou art with child, and shall bear a son, and shall call his name Ishmael, because Yahweh hath heard thy affliction, and he will be a wild man. His hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him. See that? So he's a wild man, and that comes in the form of his religion too. Islam, him being a renegade, him being an extremist. You got the Shiite Muslims. I believe they're the most radical. I think you have Sunni and you have Shiite, right? Or Sunni and Shiite or whatever. But I know Shiites are very radical. You know, they'll beat themselves till they shed blood in the name of their God. You know, Allah. Yeah, they get very fanatical, right? Don't mess with them. So yeah, that's how he's wild. And his hand will be against every man. That means he's going to have a lot of enemies, and he's going to be involved in war. And every man's hand against him. So that means these other nations are going to come up against him. That's why there's no peace over there in the Middle East. Right? So that's all prophecy. And you're wicked too. And you're very wicked. And that's just how it has to be for right now, right? So you know, that's a part of prophecy, and it's partially your fault too. Now it says, because Yahweh, and he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren, right? His brethren, yeah, his Arab brethren, right? And that's why you have something called the United Arab Emirates, right? Let's Google that. The UAE. UAE. Okay. I just want to, okay, the United Arab Emirates, also known simply as the Emirates, is a country in the West Asia situated at the eastern end of the Arabian Peninsula. It's a federal, semi-constitutional monarchy made up of 7 emirates, with Abu Dhabi serving as its national capital, while Dubai is the country's largest city. So it's a bunch of Arab states, right? Monarchies and stuff. Okay, 7 emirates. So that's his brothers, okay, his brethren. They're all together, okay? There you go. All right, so it's like a monarchy, and there's like 7 emirates. So like, I'll just call it like, you know, like states or whatever. Sorry, you know, they're made up of 7 countries or states, okay? So that's what they are, but they're dwelling together, okay? So that's why it says here, when you go back, Genesis 16, and he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren, okay? Verse 13, and she called the name of Yahweh that spake unto her, thou power seeth me, for she said, have I also here looked after him that seeth me. All right, that's it. Okay, so let's go back to the video now. Almost done.
You can go there. If you want to go to slavery, you can go there. If you want to go to the genocide of the Native Americans, you can go there. And if you want to just talk more recently, you can talk about Iraq. You can talk about Afghanistan. You can talk about Syria. You can talk about Yemen. You can talk about drone attacks in Pakistan. You can talk about bombing the pharmaceutical factory in Sudan. It doesn't finish the atrocities committed by the United States. And that's just against us. Forget about talking about Latin America in the 1970s, 1980s, and now. Where's the remorse? Where's the apology? These aren't actions of renegade individuals. These are actions sanctioned by the government. These are actions performed by the government and sanctioned by the government and endlessly defended until now. Defended by the government and justified by the government, justified by the media, justified by pundits, justified by analysts, justified by think tanks. No one has apologized for any of these actions. They never apologize, and they don't feel any need to apologize. That's no conscience. There's no conscience there. There's no sense of guilt. There's no sense of humanity. There's no sense of responsibility and accountability, and no sense of grief for their actions. The closest they'll come is to say, yes, maybe Iraq was a mistake because there was no weapons of mass destruction after all. But the truth is, even if there were weapons of mass destruction, you didn't have a right to do what you did. Even if there were. Nations have a right to possess weapons of mass destruction. America possesses them. The UK possesses them. Everyone who was involved in the coalition against Iraq possesses weapons of mass destruction. So no, that's not why you were wrong. Just the fact that you didn't find weapons. That's not why you were wrong. Don't you feel bad about what you did? Why don't you have to explain to us that those actions don't represent your belief system? The same way that we have to explain to you when renegade criminals perform acts of terror, we have to explain to you that those actions do not represent our belief system. But you never have to explain to us, to assure us that violence and atrocities and war crimes, that's not what America stands for. That's not what the West stands for. That's not what democracy means. That's not what liberal values means. That's a misrepresentation. And you can't explain it that way because the representatives of liberal democracy, the representatives of the West, the representatives of America, they're the ones who are performing those actions. Those aren't the actions of renegade criminals. That's the actions of the government. And no one has apologized. And there's not even a feeling of the need to apologize. This is the difference between civilized people and savage people. This is the difference between a normal, healthy human being and a psychopath. That's the difference between the Muslim world and the West.
Good morning.
You're all fucking bad, and you're all going into slavery. You all are wicked, because the Lord has his plans, and he's coming back to take you all down. But yeah, man, that spirit of psychopathy is out here, and I have the precept, and this started coming out during the last days when our Lord was on the scene, right? Because our Lord, he spoke about the last days, but really the last days started when our Lord came about. Anyways, this is Matthew chapter 24, verse 12. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. What is iniquity? You being in the condition without having the law, which is going into wickedness. And we're surrounded by iniquity. Right? People thrive off that. But it says the love of many shall wax cold. Now let's go into that word, wax cold. In the Greek, psycho, which is psycho, right? So it says to breathe, blow, cool by blowing, to be made or grow cool or cold. Metaphorically, waning of love. So that means there's a lack of love. Disappearing love. Okay? So that's what you're seeing out here. A lack of love. And what is love? Keeping the commandments of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. I believe that's found in the book of John, I think. Right. It says, if you love me, keep my commandments. Right. So that's love. And the whole world, a majority of the world, I mean, is not keeping the commandments of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. So there's only a select few that are doing that to the best of their ability. So as a result, that means there's no love out here. So that's why these figures like Trump, America, even you 2/3 Jakes, man. You know, even some of them, even some individuals that are in their right mind that know the name of the Lord, you know, they don't have any love, man. They don't show love. You know, they'll persecute you without showing without any reason. You know, they'll persecute you even though no laws were broken. They don't go off of the laws or the textbook. They'll just go off how they feel. You know, you have a lot of individuals like that. No love out here, man. But hey, that's all gonna happen in these last days. Let me get this. This is 2 Timothy chapter 3 verse 1. This know also that in the last days perilous times shall come, for men shall be lovers of their own selves. Which this is all traits of you being a psycho and a sociopath, man. Okay, these are all the traits. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection. I mean, you don't care about humanity. You don't give a shit about human life. You don't give a shit about how others are treated. Truce breakers, false accusers, that's right, bearing false witness and lying, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of the Most High, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. From such turn away. Yeah, pretending to be an angel of light, when really they're an angel of darkness. They're wicked as hell. Satan is all over them. But hey, that's the spirit that's out here, man. That's what's happening in these last days, man. You're seeing this. This is on pretty much the whole world. Okay, so that's right, man. Yeah, these are all the characteristics and traits of a psychopath, man. Okay, so let's get this. This is Isaiah chapter 14, verse 2. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Yahshua shall possess them in the land of Yahweh for servants and handmaids, and they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. And that's how it's gonna play out in the future, pursuant to Psalms 149, man. We're gonna bind their kings and nobles with chains and fetters of iron, right? So yeah, we were these people's captives, starting with you Edomites and you other nations. Now you're going to be our captives in the kingdom. Verse 3, and it shall come to pass in the day that Yahweh shall give thee rest from thy sore and from thy fear and from thy hard bondage, wherein thou wast made to serve, that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon. Who's the king of Babylon today? Donald J. Trump. Because America is Babylon in the spirit. It's also Sodom and Egypt as well, pursuant to Revelation 11 and 8. But mainly Babylon. You know why? Because they follow all the same philosophies and certain customs of ancient Babylon, man. And say, how hath the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. Yahweh hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. That's right, that's going into their power. Them being a world hegemon. Them having all this influence, You know, because they brought something forth called Americanization. That's why there's a McDonald's in every country. Okay, all over the world you have McDonald's and all these different corporations that come out of America, right? Americanization, rule, them controlling the world reserve currency, which is the American dollar, right? They have a lot of power. All right, so it says, verse 6, he who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, and that's what this man is going into, a continual stroke, and they show no remorse. They don't even care. They can do no wrong. They defend all the wickedness that they're doing. Going back to Native American genocide, slavery, right? All these wars that they have created, all these lands that they have invaded. They defend that to this very day, and they have never given an official apology. Anyways, let's go back here. He that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted, and none hindereth. And this is what you see here as well, man. This guy, the speech that he's giving, man. This video pretty much captures Mr. Donald J. Trump criticizing the European Union and the United Nations over what he sees as failures and what he sees as failures or weak policies. With regard to migration, immigration, climate and energy, going into, him rejecting climate change initiatives and renewable energy plans, right? And also bringing forth personal complaints, because in the very beginning, he made remarks about a malfunctioning teleprompter and escalator as the symbolic, as a symbolic, how can I say it? It's symbolic of how dysfunctional the UN is, right? When he saw all those problems, you'll see it in the very beginning. That was symbolic of him showing how dysfunctional the UN is. And he criticizes Russia and allies who continue to support Russia by buying their energy. It's just, this guy, man. You're very proud, man. Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall, man. So it says here, verse 6, he that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted, and none hindereth. The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing. And when you go down, the whole world will be at rest, and they're going to rejoice at your downfall, man. To the point even the animals and the vegetation, they're going to rejoice. And it goes on to say in verse 8, yea, the fir trees rejoice at thee, and the cedars of Lebanon sing, since thou art laid down, no fellers come up against us. Yeah, man, even the trees are going to rejoice. The earth itself is going to be happy when the wicked go down. All right, so here we go. This is Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 23. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How was Babylon become a desolation among the nations? I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou wast not aware thou art found, and also caught, because thou hast striven against the Lord. And that's the point, man. It's because you went up against Yahweh Bashim Yabushai and his chosen people. You touched the apple of his eye. And now you gotta pay, man. Now you gotta pay. You touched the apple of his eye, and you destroyed his earth. And you also destroyed these nations too. Remember, these nations also belong unto the Lord too. Even though the Lord is not directly dealing with them, they still belong unto Yahweh Bashim Yoshai. He is their maker, and you're destroying them. Because in the beginning, when you go back to Deuteronomy 32 and 8, he divided the sons of Adam, and he separated the nations and put them in their areas. And now when you came into the picture, you created all these artificial borders, you brought forth religion, and you divided these people and destroyed them, man, to the point where they don't even know who they are. All right? So you got to pay for that, man. Verse 25, the Lord hath opened his armory and hath brought forth the weapons of his indignation, for this is the work of the Lord, power of armies in the land of the Chaldeans. You see that? And a part of the weapons of his indignation, which is righteous anger, is going into thermonuclear destruction, the missiles, man. WMDs, weapons of mass destruction. Like this guy said, all nations have the right to acquire weapons of mass destruction. That doesn't justify you going in there. And funny thing, ironically, all them weapons of mass destruction are going to be used upon you, America, and different parts of the Western world, but mainly America. These are the nations that have WMDs and ICBMs. They're going to shoot them on you, and you're going to be destroyed. All right, here's another one. Here's the last one. This is Sirach, Ecclesiasticus, chapter 10, verse 1. A wise judge will instruct his people, and the government of a prudent man is well ordered. And that ain't America. America's government isn't prudent, and it's not well ordered. Donald J. Trump isn't a prudent man. He's a wicked man. And he comes from one of the sons of the wicked. He's of the wicked, which is going back to Esau, Edom. Malachi chapter 1, verse 4. And he isn't wise. You know why he isn't wise? He's not a wise judge either. Because the scripture says the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And he doesn't have that. He doesn't fear Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. So he ain't wise. He has the knowledge of wickedness. But the knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom. And that's what they're mixing up. Verse 2, as the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers. And by the way, it's bigger than Donald J. Trump. It starts with the elites. Pursuing to Psalms, the 64th chapter. This secret counsel of the wicked. Anyways, verse 2, as the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers, and what manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are all they that dwell therein. You see that? So, yes, it's on Donald Trump, it's on the elites, but it's on all Americans. All these Americans are a bunch of psychopaths. A majority of you Americans are a bunch of psychos, man. You show all the traits of psychopathy. Right? You show all them traits. You when you go into the behavioral and lifestyle traits of a fucking psychopath, they're very impulsive, they're irresponsible, they have a need for stimulation, they get bored easily. You live a parasitic lifestyle, meaning you take advantage of others. You have poor behavioral controls. Look at how you fucking Americans act, man, when you look at social media. All these Karens, all you Karens, you come out of America, man. That's where we first found the first Karen, America. Yeah, look at all you guys, man. You're fat, you're out of shape. Fucking whining all the time. Big babies, man. Irresponsible. You all are effeminate. Yeah, man, you're all fucked up. You break all the rules. You're aggressive as hell. That's why you shoot each other. You have a lot of mass shootings in America. Yeah, man. And that ties into antisocial behavior, man. You show no love for each other. Look at all the mass shootings that come out of America, man. Man, you guys are crazy, man. Well, fuck y'all, man. That's why America's gonna go down. And a lot of you Americans are gonna die by the way of thermonuclear destruction in these last days, man. Anyways, man, that's all I gotta say. I hope this was edifying. I just want to give all praises, glory, and honor due unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakah HaKodash. This is VOJ, Voice of Jacob, coming back at you with another video / lesson. Lord willing, this was edifying. My name is Brother Gabar Allah. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of Great Millstone GMS that do teach well. To you I say Shalom, and Shalom unto the hopeful like Twam Yashala and above all. Shalom.